A very good morning to our honored guests, faculty members, and our fellow students. Today, I, Anushka Dhasmana, on behalf of Jagannath International Management School, Vasant Kunj, feel extremely honored to welcome you all on the session on incubation opportunities for student and faculty's early stage entrepreneur by IIC and JIMSVK Vasant Kunj. Before getting on the board, let me brief you on IIC. The institution's Innovation Council was established on 21st November 2018 at JIMSVK Vasant Kunj. Since the inception of IICs by the Innovation Cell, as per the norms and directives of the Ministry of Education, it is established to engage a large number of faculties, students and staff in various innovation and entrepreneurship related activities such as hackathons, leadership talks, ideation, workshops, seminar in IPR, entrepreneurship, and other competitive events to enhance the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in the institution. Now, I would like to brief you on the E-Cell of JIMSVK Vasant Kunj. E-Cell is the study body with the vision of foster the spirit of entrepreneurship and Indian youth to embark on journey towards self-reliance. On behalf of JIMSVK Vasant Kunj, I am very pleased to welcome Mr. Adityanath Tripathi, CEO and founder of Climatic Infotech Private Limited. I will suggest you remember his name as he is doing wonders. Adityanath Tripathi is a seasoned professional in the technology and media industry with over 7 years of experience as a full-stack software engineer turned entrepreneur. His diverse background and achievements showcase his expertise and credibility in field. During his high school years, he embarked on a journey of freelancing and successfully transformed his ideas and hobbies into profitable business. After graduating from JIMSVK Vasant Kunj in 2022, he gained professional experience before leaving to establish his own company, focusing on extendable operation and expanding his ventures. In addition to his entrepreneurial endeavors, he is a skilled writer and an active contributor to the open source community. His passion for music led him to become part of his college music society, where he released music and garnered recognition on renowned radio platforms such as Radio FM, Radio TV, and Indigo FM. Mr. Tripathi, extensive knowledge and practical experience make him a valuable resource in the area of technology, entrepreneurship, and media. He remained at the forefront of emerging trends and in-depth at integrating art and technology for creative solutions. Now, I would like to call upon Jia to present a token of appreciation to Mr. Tripathi. Sir, we would like you to enlighten us with your warm words.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's almost good afternoon now, but yeah, my name is Adityanath Tripathi. I was actually a student over here at JIMSVK Vasant Kunj just a few months ago, so it feels surreal to be presenting as a guest lecturer at the same college I used to study at. So the last time I was actually here, I actually choked on whatever I was presenting. So this is kind of like a revelation of what used to happen. Anyway, let's get started. So, as the presentation states, it's basically going to explain how I went from being an indie hacker to actually starting my own startup and getting revenue, doing what I used to enjoy. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Who am I? I'm actually just someone like you. I used to be in part of the societies over here at JIMSVK Vasant Kunj. I used to score very badly actually. Never used to study, always used to bunk classes and all that. But eventually, I got on track. I figured out what I wanted to do. Started doing software engineering seriously after basically 2 years of college life. And eventually landed a job over at a company in Mumbai. But yeah, that became very boring really quickly. So, I said, let's quit that and actually start doing what I enjoy, which is, tinkering around, making products for myself. Doing my own venture basically. So, okay, let's talk about what my life was before doing all of this. So, as I said, I started doing software engineering at Folk Media Group, which is a MNC basically. It's an ad tech company. Went very well for 6 months, but then I got bored very quickly. So, the thing is with startups or with general companies, you do a lot of repetitive tasks. So even if you are in a large company, let's say even if you are in Google, and you are working on, let's say, their Google Workspace or whatever the internal technology is, what happens is at one point, at certain point, things get very stale, okay? So you keep repeating the same task, you get the same ticket request on Jira, and then you keep repeating all of that. So that is eventually what happened with me, and I said, it's enough, let's do something else. But even before all of that, let me just get my notes over here real quick so I don't miss out anything. Yeah, so before all of that, I was in school, okay. I believe it was my 11th or 10th class board exams, pre-board exams. I sat down, I was wondering what I can do because I was never good at programming, even in high school. But what happened eventually is I finished my exam. I knew I was going to fail. But then what happened, I got an idea in my mind, an idea for a website. I took out the same question paper that I read from to build a wireframe design for what I was going to do. Eventually made that. Took me, I would say, about a year or so, and that was my first product that I ever built. Took me a while to figure out how I'm going to do all of this, how I'm going to design, because I never knew anything about web design, the basic web development and all of that. So yeah, I just got on a mission, did that. So yeah, that was my life before getting into the whole professional ecosystem of actually working somewhere or figuring out what I'm going to do in life. Yeah, then I took a different path. So since I was making all of that, since I didn't want to go into the ecosystem of doing a regular 9 to 5, because I believe most of you guys, or most of the people from my generation, would agree that doing a 9 to 5 every single day gets very boring. Okay, so just imagine a life where you are a cogwheel in a whole giant machine that you can't control. All of your contributions go towards a company that you don't own, right? Let's say even if you have worked at Google for 10 years, you're a VP at Google, what's going to happen then? Are you going to become the CEO? That's very unlikely, especially if you're from an Indian origin. So all of these major giant MNCs that are here, Amazon, Google, Microsoft and all of that, it's very, very difficult for someone who lives in India, who has a visa in India, and who's not part of any international countries and doesn't have a citizenship there. So what's going to happen eventually? You're going to work hard, you'll keep working hard, you'll increase your salary, you will make a lot of money, but then eventually what's going to happen? You're going to quit, you're going to join another company, maybe make some more money and then retire. But that's not the life that I think many of the people in our generation want, and that is what the path I took. So I said, let's get some cash by working at a company. Let's save some money. Did that for a year, saved some money. So I had like a 6-month runway. And then I said, okay, so if I have 6 months of cash, even if I don't make any money for the next 6 months, I can easily get by. Because at our age, taking risk is one of the easiest things to do. Because right now we don't have a lot of responsibilities. I know some of us do, but most of us, can explain taking risk at this age. So yeah, did that and I quit. So how is it going right now? So I started the company in, I would say, March. Took until April to get everything sorted by. So I'm talking about 2023. So started the company in March. Actually did contracts in April, and that is how the graph looks right now. So I was at 1x revenue. I'm not going to disclose figures because that's that's something that we should probably keep private. But yeah, so I was at 1x revenue, went to 2x, 3x, and then currently at 8x at the moment. So that's how the revenue trend is going for my company. I'm currently the only guy who's working at my company, except for freelancers and contractors that I hire. But yeah, so that is how it's going right now. But let's see what the next plan is. Right now, the current models that we usually start with, so whenever you start a company or whatever idea you have, once you get into the business, you'll make a lot of mistakes. That one of the mistakes that I did was, take more work than I can probably do, commit to more things that I can probably ever finish in time, or finish with the workload of, having to manage all of this and having to take on the clients as well, do marketing, do business management, do financials, and all of that. So I overcommitted to a lot of things. So the next pivot I'm going to do is productize everything, which is basically a business model where you take the services, you limit what you're going to deliver, and then you provide the services at a fixed cost to all of the customers. So this way the customer knows what they want, you know what you're going to deliver, how long it's going to take you, because everything is systematic. So that's the next goal. And then obviously Climactic, which is my company, is going to, since we are a hybrid company, we are a service and product based company, we're going to establish our own brands, and then we're going to make a SaaS. We actually have ideas for multiple SaaS softwares. SaaS is basically software as a service. And yeah, that's the next plan for 2023 and 2024. But let's see, that's enough about me. I'm sure a lot of you guys have a lot of great ideas that are probably much better than me. Let's see how you can do that yourself. So, let me just check my notes here, just in case. Okay, so where do you start? Starting a business in India is actually very simple, especially if you're just working domestically, right? So, how many of you guys have ideas for doing your own business at the moment? Let me see some hands, because I'm sure a lot of us have a lot of ideas of what we can do if we are not doing a full-time job. Even if you're doing a full-time job, how many of you guys have side ideas or side hustles that you want to, convert into a business someday? One? Just one? That's surprising, but that's good. I'll actually talk to you after this. So yeah, so where do you start? There are actually a bunch of things you have to look into. So what are you going to sell? The number one rule of doing a business is, or the number one rule in economics is figuring out what's the demand, what's the supply, and where you stand in the market. So let's say you're going to sell a product. Let's just say it's a bracelet that no one has, or not a lot of people are selling in the market. So is that something you want to do, or do you want to do something innovative? A lot of us have ideas that are not being executed in the market at the moment, but that's actually a red sign, I would say, because if you look at the market, why are there so many competition? Why are there so many competitors? Because whatever they are selling at the moment is a proven business model. So let's say someone's selling a bottle, right? There are a lot of bottle manufacturers in India, IIC and all those companies. Why do they keep repeating each other's business models? That's because it's proven, there's a lot of revenue to be made, there are a lot of customers who want water bottles. So when you're thinking about what you want to sell, you would have to think about, are other people doing it? Are you the first one to do it? If you're the first one to do it, you don't have a position in the market, right? So if you have an original product, the market is not ready for it yet. So you have to see how you can generate demand for the supply that you're willing to generate. That's that's one of the ways how you figure out what are you going to sell in the market. Now, if you think about the business structure, there are a lot of business structures in India. There's a sole proprietorship, there's a partnership, there's private limited, there's public, and all of those. But you have to figure out what is something that is the easiest thing to do when you're starting out. If you are, let's say you are a solo entrepreneur, you would most likely want to do a sole proprietorship, just because there are almost no legalities. There's no regulations that would hinder your progress when you're starting out. So, these are some basic types of companies or types of businesses that you would probably want to study before getting started. If you are to commit to something, let's say a private limited, there's like, I would say more than a dozen compliances that you have to do. You would most likely have to hire a CA, and that would cost you more than a couple of lakhs per year just to have your business running. So I would highly suggest that before starting all of this, you study what type of business you want to do. And especially if you're doing it domestically, I would say there's no need for a private limited. Private limited is mostly for doing transactions that are going to exceed your turnover by 1 crore. That's just the simplified way of saying, you don't want to get stuck somewhere where you don't have any idea of. But let's think about the regulations at the moment. So if you are planning on raising funds, VCs and all of those, you would have to have a structure where you can give the venture capitalist, where you can give the seed funds equity in your company, because most of the venture capitalist firms are going to ask you for equity in your company just because they want to safeguard whatever they're investing in at the moment. So if you're a sole proprietor, that's very hard to do. So that's also one of the things you would have to consider if you're willing or if you're thinking of raising funds in the future. Now, if you are someone like me, just a year ago, you would probably want to, have some cash. So the big question is, do you want to do a job at the moment, or do you want to go straight into business without any experience in the field of corporate and all of that? So let's just see. If you are a student in your final year or second year, whichever year you are in at the moment, do you know how corporate works? Do you know how HR works? Do you know how to write emails? Do you know how to reach out to clients? Do you know marketing? And all of the basic things that come with being an entrepreneur. If you don't have any idea of how any of that works, you would most likely want to do a job, just so you can get an idea of how things are structured, how you can, communicate with people, how do you do team building, how do you communicate with your team, and try to get things done as quickly as possible without having a lot of chaos within your team. So if you don't have any experience or any of that, you would most likely want to do a job, and after that save some cash, get some experience, then do a business. What you can do as well as while you're doing the job, that's what I did. So while I was working, I was 6 months in to working full time. I said, let me try to validate my idea. So validation is basically trying to get interest or trying to get revenue out of an idea that you already have and seeing if that idea is going to succeed. So I spoke to some people, I got a few clients while I was working, and that gave me more revenue than what I was earning in a full-time job. So I said, this idea is 100% validated. Let's say let's keep working so there's security, because if you just quit at the very beginning of getting started with a new business, there's a lot of uncertainties when you're working. So I said, let's pause for a minute, figure out how this is going to scale. Because if you're a solo entrepreneur, there's a lot of tasks that you would have as well as while doing a full-time job. So take some time, wrap your head around how everything's going to structure or how everything's going to be structured, and then that's how you execute between doing a job and a side hustle and then converting that into a business. Now you already have you already know what you want to sell. You know what business structure you're going to do. You know how you're going to raise funds. You know if you're going to do a job or you're going to do a business. So how do you market what you have already built? What's your position in the market as someone who's selling something that exists or doesn't exist? So you have to figure out if there's already monopoly or if there's already a monopolistic approach for whatever you're thinking of selling in the market. That's going to be a challenge. So what you do over here is you figure out your niche. So let's say if I'm an email provider right now, I'm starting an email company like Gmail in the market. There's already Outlook, there's already ProtonMail, there's already Gmail. Obviously Google's Gmail is probably the largest. I think they have the 70% market cap. How do you market yourself in this market where there's already market leaders? You would have to niche, or you'd have to segment the market. You'd have to figure out where you can target people where their needs are not being fulfilled by all these large players. And that's the people you want to market to. That's how you generate leads which would actually convert. So rather than advertising to the full market, rather than advertising to, let's say, everyone who uses Gmail, you would target certain people in the market who are most likely to convert to whatever you're thinking of selling. And that's how marketing is done when you're starting out as a business. Now, since the topic of the whole guest lecture is today, incubation, startups for early entrepreneurs, how do you get funding and how do you get guidance when you don't have any idea of how any of this works, right? So, I'm actually going to grab my board over here. So as I mentioned earlier, venture capital is very important when you don't have a cash flow or you don't have an established business who's already generating revenue. So in this case, you are most likely thinking of getting some funds raised by angel investors or seed funds. But I'll stop you here. So before getting into the whole VC scheme or reaching out to investors, I would say is figure out if your idea is something that you can fund yourself, because in that case you are not giving out your precious equity, which I think early stage VCs usually ask for about 5% to 10%. That depends on who you are reaching out to. But imagine your company at the moment. So let's say you are generating 1 lakh per month, and that's a revenue. So you don't have any cost in that at the moment. But let's say you're starting up. You're earning 12 lakhs per year. Imagine that grows up to 12 crores by next year. You gave 10% of your equity. Now you don't own 1.2 crores of the whole 12 crores that you earned. And eventually, as your business keeps growing, that's going to be a problem. So figure out if you can fund your startups yourself. Figure out if you need as many employees as you think you do. Try to do most things yourself, because seed funds, although great for innovative ideas, I would say most of the people don't need it. Just like I didn't ask for any VC fund, I tried generating cash flow myself. So yeah, that's how the whole venture capitalist side of business works. I believe today I actually read a news where VC funds such as Sequoia is getting segmented into three partnerships. So one for the US, one for Europe, and one for the Asian market. So if things like this happen in the VC market, there's still a lot of uncertainties. Let's say, so when you're raising funds, you don't get all of the money at the same time. So let's say if you raise 1 crore, what's going to happen is that's going to be structured in a grant way. So you get 10 lakhs at the beginning, you get 20 lakhs the next month or in the next quarter, and that's how you keep getting the money. So you don't get all of the money at the same time. But if something uncertain happens with the venture capitalist itself, you are most likely not going to get all of the money, and your money may actually stop coming if you pivot to something that is not ideal for them. And they have a lot of control over your decision making as well. So venture capitalists, although great, I would highly suggest against it, especially when you're in a validating phase. Now coming to mentorship. So since most of us don't have any idea of how things work, it's great to get guidance on what to do next. So if you get stuck with a client who you don't know how to deal with, you would most likely want to ask someone who has already dealt with such a situation. So in that case, where do you find a mentor? Where do you find guidance in such a large market? Why would someone else help you? So for that, I would say ask around, build a network of people, build a network of entrepreneurs, talk to a lot of people, and eventually you will find someone who has had the same experience as you, and it's likely that they'll think, this guy has a great idea, let's actually help him out, build something that's worth helping, obviously, and that's how you find mentorship. Now, so when you have already figured out what your mission is for your business, you know what your product is. Who do you target, right? Do you target the normal consumer? Do you target just the everyday person? Do you target a segment of the market, or do you target the whole market? That comes down to positioning. So I would highly suggest reading about positioning in the market, reading about positioning in marketing, and then figuring out who do you want to target. That is definitely one of the most important things when it comes down to starting a business. And I would say that's more important than raising funds. That's more important than getting mentorship. Yeah, just figure that out before starting anything or before committing to anything, because that is going to help you in the long run as well as in the short run. Now, you can start a business in India, or you can start a business internationally. When you're starting in India, you would have to think about the economic situation over here. You'd have to think about how much people are willing to pay for the same service that people are willing to pay internationally. Now, let's say you have software as a service. Let's say you're selling, let's just say it's a game, okay? I think that would be more relatable to everyone. Let's say it's a game that has microtransactions. If you're selling it in India, let's say you're selling 100 tokens of your game in India. People are likely lesser to pay for the 100 tokens for 100 rupees than they are likely to pay 10 rupees for the same thing over in India. But if you are targeting someone internationally, if you're targeting the US market, who has more economical value, more GDP than we do, and they have more buying power, they are likely to pay the 10x up to 300x for the same thing. And that's because, we have to think about whatever we are doing from all the perspectives. So if you are selling, let's say, let's take a different example. If you're selling clothes, for example, clothes are usually manufactured over here. That's usually readily available to us. But if that same thing is being sold internationally, let's say I bought a t-shirt over here, that's going to cost me somewhere around 300 to 1,000. But if you're selling the same thing, if you're exporting the same thing, there are obviously logistical costs involved, there's obviously marketing costs involved. Everything gets marked up, and then also we take into account how much the buying power is of a general customer internationally. So that is how you figure out the pricing and the target market for doing domestic business or an international business. Now you also have to take into account what your competition is. So as I said earlier, when you're positioning yourself in the market, you'll have to think, is there already a market leader? Is there already someone who's doing something that you are planning to do? Or is the market completely empty? So if you have competition, it's very easy to understand where they did wrong. You can study their whole business model, you can study all the financials, you can figure out what the mistakes were, and that's going to give you a better head start at doing the same thing that someone else was doing. But that also comes with the challenge of how do you take their segment of the market away from them without investing more than they did, without doing the same mistakes that they did. You have to basically research every competition in the market before you commit, and that's going to give you a much better view, much clearer view on how your business is going to grow in the forthcoming future. So that's how you figure out if the competition is even worth it, if the business is even worth it, if it's worth the financial problems that you're going to face, is it worth the marketing costs that you're going to do, what's the conversion rate for how much amount you're investing in marketing, and how do you get leads. That is a general way of figuring out how marketing is done. So marketing the basic principle of marketing is finding out leads, finding out a niche, finding out how you would generate leads, finding out how you would convert those leads into actual paying customers. And that's the whole market pipeline, the whole marketing pipeline, or the whole business development pipeline. And you can only do that if you understand how the current market works for your product or your service, whatever you are offering to the customers. Now, that's an oversimplification of how everything works. But I would suggest, you start doing research before you commit anyway. So these are just the key points and just the key highlights of how things work. But if you want to study more, if you want to understand it more, you would most likely have to, do your own research, read books, listen to audiobooks. I would highly suggest not listening to YouTubers because they don't know what they are doing. I've seen more than a dozen of YouTube videos where business owners are selling their courses. Stay away from courses because those courses are basically one of their own products that they're selling. That would be very imprinted. So let's take a lesson from someone, right? How would their lesson come to them? They are mostly selling what they experience in the market, but everyone's experience is different. So if you are listening to YouTubers, if you're listening to speeches, if you're listening to TED Talks, what do you find that's common between all of them? They're talking from experience. But let's say someone takes into consideration that, I'm gonna sell my experience and I'm gonna charge money for everything that I've done. That instantly changes the whole perception of whatever knowledge they're selling. Because then they try to oversell what worked for them. They're going to oversimplify what worked for them just because you are more likely to buy the course. And yeah, I would say stay away from that. Now, whenever you have started a business, there are a bunch of things that you're going to face. I've done it, so I can say from my personal experience that even though business looks like an easy thing to do, there are a lot of caveats. One of those caveats is 100% no stability. So if you're doing a 9 to 5 at, now you're just going to say that everyone's getting laid off at the moment, so there's no stability in 9 to 5 either. So what do you do? Do you do a government job or do you do business? Because government jobs are most likely not to fire their employees than private companies and obviously your own business. But you'll have to understand, if you're doing a business, everything depends on your clients, everything depends on the market economic situation, and you are the only person who's going to fire all the shots. So let's say a pivot is required in the market. What do? You don't have any other way than to figure out what's the next step. So if you do a mistake, not only you are going to face the consequences, but you're also going to give those consequences off to your employees or off to your customers eventually. So one of the biggest caveats is definitely there's no stability in the business, especially at the beginning. So you have to take that into consideration. You can't expect luxury instantly, but that's eventually going to happen later on in the life. There are definitely risks involved. So let's say if you were working on a 9 to 5, you took on a credit card bill. You took out a credit card, you took out 1 lakh in the credit expenses, but you're going to get your salary the next month. That's going to be paid off in the next 3 months, let's say. That does not happen when you're starting out as a business. If you start out your business, one of your months is going to be great. The next month, your revenue may plummet just based on the economic situations of the market. But that risk is more fruitful than working for a company, as I initially said in the beginning, that at least you have the ownership of all your ideas, you have the ownership of all your mistakes, you have ownership of all the revenue that you generate. So I think that risk is worth taking. Now, there is vastly no guidance when you're starting out. You can read all of the books you want, but everything is going to be specific, or everything is going to be the first time that you have done anything. So anything that you read, anything that you have studied from all the other people's, anything that you have studied from experienced entrepreneurs, that's likely not going to apply to you because your idea is different, your situation is different, the pressure on your life is different, your life struggles are different, everything's different, right? So you can't expect someone to magically heal all your problems, and you have to take accountability for all the decisions that you make. One of the main things when you're starting out is pivoting quickly. So let's say one of your products didn't work out, one of your services you offered didn't generate as much revenue as it cost you to run it. What do you do then? Do you keep continuing on to a business that's not generating revenue but is rapidly increasing in cost, or do you pivot to something that is going to, eventually give you something that is worth committing to? So fast pivots, or let's say rapid prototyping, is a major point when you're starting out. Do you want to change quickly, like based on the market situation? You want to keep just running around all of the ideas. You want to keep validating all the new ideas until you land onto something that is going to be more fruitful than what you started with. So you have to be comfortable with ditching the initial idea you have, ditching the initial product you had, because sometimes even if your idea is great, even if you love your idea, it is just not something the market is ready for. It is not something that you are ready for. So be ready to pivot, and yeah, that is how pivots work. So one important point: when you're starting, you have some sort of a cash flow, right? You have, let's say you invested 50,000 of your own money into your business. That's your capital investment into your company. You're going to take that money, buy ads, for example, buy products that you're going to sell further. But when is that capital investment going to break even? When are you going to get more revenue than what you invested earlier? Every single month when you are proceeding with your business, when is the point where your cost equal to the revenue that you're generating? So this is a large problem in major unicorn companies at the moment. Paytm, Swiggy, Zomato, none of those companies are generating revenue. None of those break even at the moment. So if you're not breaking even at some point, you're going to fail. You want to generate enough revenue to the point where you can justify all of the costs that you're making. And for early stage entrepreneurs, I would say breaking even is more important. If your idea is not as innovative as others, breaking even is very important in the first 3 months of validating the idea. So you want to generate enough revenue to where you can justify all of your costs. And that is a caveat as well, but it is also an important point of consideration when you're starting out. Now, okay, so this is going to be a bit more philosophical than it is technical, I would say. Consider the business world as a game, right? Consider your business as a game. Whenever you succeed, you switch on to the next level. You proceed to the next level. Let's consider business as Mario, for example. If you're playing Super Mario Bros, which is the Nintendo classic, if you succeed, you go on to the next level. But if you fail, you either get stuck onto the same level, or eventually you just lose the game. So that is how you should consider business as well. If you succeed, you have a very good future. If you fail, you are either stuck or you completely fail once your lives are over. Or I mean, life in terms of Mario lives, not real life. But yeah, eventually you're going to lose your business if you don't figure it out, or if you don't pivot, or if you don't make changes. If you know what benchmarking is, you have to set a certain level in your life, in your business, where you're comfortable at, in terms of what you're doing. So if you're benchmarking is basically learning where you failed, learning where you succeeded, and figuring out a plan that's going to help you proceed further. So if you have, let's say, if you figured out a service, or if you figured out how to sell the same service to someone else for a lot more money than you're usually selling at, that's a benchmark that you hit. That is how you figure out what's going to happen next. So, as I said, so if you have a product, you sold it for 1 lakh rupees, right? And that's a one-time cost or one-time revenue that you had. You have to figure out how you did that. What were the steps that you took into place to achieve that level of success? And what happened when you couldn't sell it? You have to understand how you failed selling something, and figure out a benchmark in between where you know that I want to achieve at least this to be able to justify everything that I'm doing right now. And that's how benchmarking is done. You understand from your failures, you understand from your success, you learn how everything works. Now, if you don't try, I think it's a very popular saying that if you don't try, you're already failing. So trying is, I would say, trying equals to winning, because there are thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs that have great ideas, but they never commit to it just because they are scared of failure. So you have to try all of the ideas that you have, and even if you take one step further, than anyone else. So even if you are in the thinking stage, you're not doing anything. But if you commit to the idea, you buy a website, let's say, that's already winning in terms of success. That is one step further than all of the other thousands of entrepreneurs are going to take. Yeah, as I said, there are thousands and thousands of people, but none of them are ready to commit. None of them are ready to take the next step and figure out how they're going to do how they're going to commit to the idea that they have. So starting is also winning, just as much as it's trying. So if you are trying, you keep trying. You don't let the failures push you down. You don't let the failures stop your venture. That is winning. But starting itself is also winning. So take that into account. That's one of the lessons I have. So I would say I was in first year of college when I was failing to generate revenue for one of the products that I created. I let that get to me actually, and that product eventually died. But that was one of the lessons that I learned. So if I kept working on it, if I hired other people, if I hired engineers that could help me out during that phase, that product would most likely be making thousands and thousands of dollars in revenue at the moment. But I let the failure get to me, and I eventually stopped that project. And that is one of the lessons that I would never repeat again. If I have something, if you keep working, eventually it's going to work out. Now, if you're doing a 9-to-5 job, that's very comfortable for many people, because that is the route that we have learned since we were kids. The goal of being a student is studying the basics, studying everything, and then eventually pushing yourself into the 9-to-5 phase and making enough revenue to the point where you feel comfortable, where you feel confident in life. But I would say comfort is a failure, because that would eventually stop your creativity. That would stop how creative you think, how innovative you think, how many ideas you have. Because then you are saying, even if I have all these ideas, I'm already comfortable with what I'm doing, so I'm not going to take the next step. So being comfortable, although great for many of us, because it gives us a sense of belonging, it's a failure if you want to do anything innovative. So even in terms of business, let's say you have something that's working very well for you in the business world. If you get comfortable, if you don't keep making innovations, if you don't keep changing how you do business, that's going to eventually lead to your failure. Let's take into ChatGPT into account, okay? So OpenAI launched ChatGPT even though Google was doing research for the past 10 years. and they launched it before Google did, and eventually got 100 million users. Google failed in those terms, and that led to their red alert in Google HQ, because they couldn't compete in the AI world. So that's a failure. Being comfortable with what you're doing. So they were only doing searches, right? Searches basically led to the failure in the AI terms, just because they didn't commit. So when you're starting out, obviously many of us look at business as one of the ways where you can make a lot of money very quickly, right? We see like hundreds of entrepreneurs raising crores and crores every single month. But the problem with that is that money doesn't belong to them. Obviously, some people take the money and run off. Like I was reading about one of the entrepreneurs in the market who took 280 crores and ran away. But that's usually not how things work out. Money is generally a byproduct of whatever you're doing. So if you are starting out, any revenue that you earn is not your money. Everything you have to do, you have to keep reinvesting. Money is a byproduct of doing business rather than it being directly coming into your pocket. That's the basic sense I would put it to. So yeah, consider money as a byproduct of whatever you're doing, and eventually when you are later in the phase of doing business, when you are already established, that money then becomes yours. So business is a long run game rather than being a short term thing. If you're committing, you have to commit for a very long time before you can expect any money to be made for you personally, basically. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. I would be more than happy to answer. Yeah.
लाइक मैं जैसे कि स्टूडेंट मेरे पास आइडियाज हैं बट अब मेरे को क्या करना चाहिए आगे मास्टर्स के लिए करना चाहिए अपने बिजनेस पे काम करना चाहिए जॉब करनी चाहिए
So it depends. Okay, so abhi currently let's say do you have any cash flow, do you have any capital investment that you require for that business?
नॉट राइट नाउ बट पेरेंट्स से मिल सकता बट अभी मैं प्रेफर नहीं कर रहा अभी
Okay, so I would say abhi tak koi experience hai, like, so have you worked professionally anywhere, have you done any internships or anything? I would personally suggest, you work for, let's say, at least 6 months, okay? You work for 6 months, you save some cash. Because right now, you don't, any money that you earn right now or anything that you earn, it's a choice that you do. So, let's say, many of the people who just start working right after college, they take that money and they invest into luxury, they invest into showing off. But if you planned out accordingly, if you want to run a business eventually, what you would want to do is save that cash, take that cash and invest it into your business. Because right now, I believe you're living with your parents, right? So you have opportunity to save on electricity cost, you have opportunity to save on food, you have opportunity to save on rent. So take all of that, save that, and eventually invest that into your business. And this way, you would be very independent, you would be very comfortable with whatever you're doing. You are willing to take risks because you have nothing to lose, right? So take those 6 months, any money that you earn, save that, and obviously, spend some, but that would eventually just be experience that you have gained. So you would know how companies work, you would know how the basic structure works, basically. Yeah. Any other questions?
I wanted to know that, for example, I have a product and one of its components is not sold in India and it's sold in some foreign market, but I'm still headquartered in India and I'm only selling a product in India. So what would be a better option? Should I outsource it or should I find an alternative method or should I employ resources that are similar to it and not the actual?
So this is very specific, but I would say if the product is being manufactured internationally, if there's already a market for it internationally, that would give you a very good understanding of how the current business works, how the revenue is going in, and how the cost work. So understand how much revenue the other company is making, whoever's doing that, and see if importing the product. So for example, if the product was being manufactured in China and you had AliExpress and Alibaba, right, where you can buy the same product for a much cheaper price, I would suggest going that outsourcing out at the beginning, or even consider doing dropshipping for the product, for example, because that way you're not investing any capital upfront, right? Whatever you are spending is basically coming from the client itself. So if you understand how dropshipping works, it's basically the client goes onto you are acting as a middleman at the beginning. So the client goes onto your portal, they buy the product, that order whichever they place, it gets directly sent to the foreign manufacturer, and then they ship it directly to the customer. So you never have the upfront capital costs that are involved with starting out. So if you're just starting out and that product doesn't exist in India, if that product doesn't have a manufacturer in India that is economical for you, I would highly suggest going that route. But yeah, if there's already a manufacturer in India who's exporting it elsewhere, or if they are selling it in India within India itself, and if the costs are justified with how the international business works, I would say go with whatever the cheapest option is at the beginning if you really want to invest capital. Yeah.
How much time do you devote every day?
I can't hear you, sorry.
How much time do you devote every day in your garden?
So when I was doing my job, so around 6 months ago, or actually no, 8 months ago now, when I was doing my full-time job and also doing side hustles, which eventually I converted into business, I was doing upwards of 18 hours, or 12 to 18 hours a day was my initial working hours. And right now I'm doing around 10 to 12 hours every single day. And that involves, so that doesn't just involve doing customer work, that also involves running the organization itself. So all the steps, all the regulations, all the financials and everything, that is also taken into account. So any basic things that you have to do is also your working hours. So there are no fixed hours when starting the business. I think that's very understandable. You would probably commit your whole life, forget your social life and all of that, which is what I had to do. Forgot all my social life, didn't meet my friends for 8 to 10 months, and just committed myself to figuring out how I'm going to turn whatever venture I have into revenue. Any other questions? Okay. Well, that's about it for me. If you want to reach out to me, you can scan this QR code. I'll have it open, and yeah, we can talk on LinkedIn. We can talk on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. And yeah, eventually, if you come up, you have an idea which you think you want to pursue, and you have doubts about it, feel free to ask. And I'll also be here at the college for a little while. So if you want to meet up with me, if you want to talk about stuff, feel free. But yeah, that's it for me. I don't think it's not working with the end slide, but I'm gonna leave it here. Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm very excited to see what ideas you guys come up with, because when I was in second year and even when I was in third year, I didn't think I was gonna start a business. So standing here right now, within just a year of graduating, I think a lot can change. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to see you guys succeed. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words of wisdom. We would like to thank you on behalf of JIMSVK for such an informative session. We would look forward to see you again in our campus. Last but not the least, thank you for being such an amazing audience. Thank you and have a nice day.